Yes.
There with your family in the background today and you're home from work now and can cover it. Statement of work, Federal Emergency Management Agency, National Continuity Program. She sent us emails linking to public contracts last week, and she called up this week and said, look, you got the wrong documents. Yes, Department of Defense gave out the contracts to prepare activating the FEMA camps, but this is the one that gets into the total takeover of government. And it says COG, break-ins on media, surveillance, the Blue Force. Go through this document with us.
It's a fascinating document. And first of all, just so everybody understands, this is all public information. This is what's called a solicitation for contract. And basically, the government has a website, fedbizops.gov, where they put out draft statements of work, and contractors will go and bid for the work. It's a very convoluted, hard to search through system, which is why things are very easy to overlook. Case in point, if you wanted to look up contracts, you type in Department of Homeland Security, you're going to see thousands of contracts that come up, and you'd have to comb through each and every one of them to find it unless you know the keywords and the key acronyms.
Well, it's got 35 agencies under it. It's probably hundreds of thousands of contracts.
Absolutely. I mean, and like I said, and that's what makes it so difficult. So I can totally understand how, it may have been missed or misinterpreted, and it's very easy to do. Just recently I saw a solicitation, Department of Education, wanting 500 militarized shotguns. Really? But this is all public information. So this
and expanding on that, I've probably been to 20 urban warfare drills, researched this for 14 years, 13 years or so, because I wasn't on this the first few years on air. And when I read these documents, I understand some of it, but it's all meant to be Greek. It's all put in a military contractor parlance where the general public doesn't know what blue groups against red groups mean.
Exactly right. Well, let me go this. I'm on page 3 of the document, and there's only certain paragraphs that you really have to key in on to understand what it's all about. And it says, other efforts of the Operations Division, and Operations Division is exactly that. They oversee the operations of continuity of government. They are the contractor support with government oversight. So other efforts of the Operations Division includes initiatives such as Operation Rendezvous, or OPRON, Task Force Rendezvous, the development and integration of the Federal Emergency Response Official Repository System, National Security Special Event Contingency Support, Disaster Relief, and Humanitarian Assistance Contingency Support. And then it says additional efforts of the Operations Division include Geospatial Information System, which is like a battlefield it gives a battlefield picture.
That's what I saw with the Marines, with big projectors on the wall where they have the satellites real time.
Yes.
Where they had the transponders as blue group. The militias they were practicing fighting in California were red group.
Right.
And they had Humvees with robot guns that anybody not in blue group was going to be killed. And this was 12 years ago.
Well, I mean, it's advanced. Same concept, but the technology has advanced somewhat. Blue Force situational awareness is what you're talking about, and in that sense, it's much like for years, for example, commercial aircraft have a transponder on it, and that system is called Interrogation Friend or Foe, IFF. That's what that stands for. And basically, Blue Force situational awareness is the exact same thing that you have with commercial aircraft, military aircraft, and everything else. They have a transponder where a signal goes out, the plane responds, and then on the operator's screen, you're going to either have like a circle, a square, or a triangle. And it's going to be either a circle for friendly, it's going to be a square for unknown, and a triangle for bad guy. And so that's what you have. Blue Force situational awareness is exactly that. So because of today's technology, I mean, a transponder can be I mean, look at RFID.
Well, our cell phones have the little triangulators, so we know they've actually used those. And so they've got a full battlefield scope. They can tie into cameras on the street, surveillance systems, satellites, drones, any of it. And so they know friend or foe. And this is talking about in continuity of government with camps, having people with their transponder badges in the blue group against the red group. And the red group is the American people, I guess.
Right. Well, this is the scary thing about when you talk Blue Force situational awareness. The first thing that I think about when I think of that is overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya and wherever we're waging illegal wars. That's where I envision Blue Force situational awareness. What I don't envision is having Blue Force situational awareness on our own soil, because it's almost too crazy to wrap your arms around. It's just too much to understand.
It's what Ron Paul said. NDAA is a declaration of war against the American people.
It is. It truly is. And, you know, even if, and here's the thing that people need to understand. A lot of these representatives and senators, of course, they don't read the bills. They don't do that. Same thing in government. These draft statements of work, 9 times out of 10, are written by the contractor, submitted back to the government, and the guy there, you know, he's just like, well, yeah, okay, I'll just pass this on through. Okay, fine, put my signature on it, and out it goes. So oftentimes, they don't even know what's in there. They just know that they get an overview. Okay, this is there, this is there, this is there. Make sure that you guys hit this point, and this point, and then they ship it on through. So if a company like Halliburton, who we know has ties to this elitist cabal, goes and writes a statement of work, there's no telling what's in there, and that's why it's important.
Oh, wow, I get it. They're actually influencing policy by the way the contracts are written, and the higher-ups don't even understand that.
Right, exactly right. That's the thing that people don't understand, is that part of the dumbing down of society, it hasn't only affected the masses, it's affected government as well. A lot of these government employees now don't even know how to write a statement of work. You know, and so.
Well, look, I've been studying this particular type of thing for 13, 14 years, and I barely have an elementary understanding. And I guess it's part of the complexity of the world allows corruption to hide in it.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's another on this is extremely interesting, is on page 5. They come out with Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center. Now, I've been doing this for probably 3 or 4 years now. And like I said before, off air, it's because of you that I woke up and listening to your show.
Mount Weather is one of the alternate government heads, along with Colorado Springs and Cheyenne Mountain. I mean, they've made movies about martial law where Mount Weather runs it all.
Well, exactly right. But for years and years, they denied the existence of Mount Weather. And now, and when I say that, I mean, yes, we know Mount Weather's there. And they say, yes, it's a 564-acre Department of Homeland Security facility. But what people don't understand is, yeah, look, it's a deep underground military base. It's one of those, just like Cheyenne Mountain and everything else. And in this document here, they acknowledge it.
By the way, Denver Airport's connected to Cheyenne Mountain. I've talked to the contractors, and they just go on and have the Daily Show make fun of us. It's very funny.
Yeah, well, there you go. See?
Here's a deep underground military base right here.
Here it is. .gov. This is a .gov website. It's coming right from the horse's mouth. So they talk about the support that this contractor will provide for Mount Weather. This goes hand in hand. This solicitation goes hand in hand not only with S-1867, but it also goes along with on December the 8th, the White House issued that strategic implementation plan.
Yeah, let me stop you there. NDAA is the National Defense Authorization Act you just mentioned, which they tried to say didn't affect citizens, and they admit, yeah, it does, by the way. I want you to be scared, as different senators said. You want a lawyer? Ha, you're not going to get one, Graham said. Lieberman said, we want to scare you. I mean, weird old men saying, I want to scare you. I want to scare citizens. It's beyond Twilight Zone. And then now you bring up what AP reported on 2 weeks ago, and we have the document up on screen here in a moment. It's this new threat assessment by the White House, and they say we're now worried about domestic groups, and executively they say in NDAA, now law, Obama hadn't signed it yet for some weird reason, but he says he is. It is quite a plunge they're taking, where it says if you're al-Qaeda or affiliated groups, well, this document of policy says the White House decides, and that means anybody saying something that may stir people up. That's what the legalese, and I've talked to top constitutional lawyers to make sure my lying eyes weren't lying. I mean, this is widening it to speech, to everything. It is an off-the-chart announcement. So you've got the floor on the next document. We'll bring it up on screen, Joe. Break it down.
Yeah, it's the strategic implementation plan for empowering local partners to prevent violent extremism in the United States. And I want to draw everybody's attention, this is page 3 of the document, to the quote by President Obama. And I only want to read the first sentence and a half because this is what's so important. It says, as a government, we are working to prevent, and it says prevent. So they're not responding to, they're preventing, which is pre-crime, which is Minority Report.
Yeah, it's pre-restraint on speech, on actions. It's saying your speech is going to cause the problem. Pointing out we're stealing pension funds. Pointing out we've stolen $27 trillion in bailouts. Pointing out Corzine's a crook and has $35,000 plate dinners per person for me. That, as Cass Sunstein, his regulations are, says he wants to arrest people who don't believe in man-made global warming. I mean, these are public papers. So did we find page 3 on that? There it is. Please continue.
It says, as a government, we are working to prevent all types of extremism that leads to violence, regardless of who inspires it, period. At the same time, countering al-Qaeda's violent ideology. So when they put that period in there, they separate al-Qaeda from homegrown extremism. That's
By the
what
way,
you have.
Obama's lawyers, and so did Bush's, the Fuhrer precept, have said he speaks like the Pope from the throne ex cathedra. When he says something, that's law. He will launch wars without Congress. He will decide who's terrorist. He will decide who to detain for life without anyone knowing, or he will decide who to kill. All these are announcements. So he's saying, if you are doing things that stir people up, you are al-Qaeda.
Absolutely right. And so what this document does, and folks, I encourage you to read this document because knowledge is power, and the only way you can change things is if you take the knowledge and you apply it. So this document, it ties sheriffs and local law enforcement to the hip of the federal government. It takes away state sovereignty and puts the feds pretty much in charge.
Which is what the threat fusion centers were set up for.
Yes, this has all been decades in the making. And if there's one thing these elitists are, they're patient. But now they're not, because they see their plan. See, the problem with all this is the internet was their worst enemy. It was something that they developed, and all of a sudden, now this information's coming out, and people are starting to get hit.
And now they're admittedly saying that they want to censor the internet for our own safety.
SOPA Act, absolutely right, in the name of online piracy. And what's scary about the SOPA Act is the fact that anybody can go and put a copyright infringement. Say you do a video on YouTube, you don't even have to be the person that made the video.
And you're banned from the internet forever. And guess what? Now Microsoft comes out with, we're going to thumbprint and face scan you to get online. It's an internet ID. And these global corporations can selectively enforce. The 80 inventors of the internet have gone public saying this. Even Google says this. This is not your opinion. And again, don't you think, though, they're bum rushing, their panicking is only waking folks up faster?
Well, this is, I want everybody to understand this. You're seeing this because they fear you. You're seeing this because they know that if the American people or the world in general get hip to their game in mass, that they're finished. There's nothing that they can do about this. Once the gig is up, their game is done. Their goose is cooked. So they're quaking in their boots, much like the Republican establishment right now is on an all-out assault on Ron Paul And regardless of what they're doing, everything they do, whether they silence, they ignore him, or they attack him with that outlandish racial allegation from papers that were written 25 years ago that he had nothing to do with. They're throwing the kitchen sink at him, and nothing is sticking because people understand that. How many times can you get sold a bill of goods? How many times do you have to hear Obama say, well, you know,